Hello, Simon Gawesworth here from Rio Products, here at Anglers All in Colorado. I've been here for the Trout Spey clave that they've had today, here teaching a couple of classes. And most of the people who've taken the Spey classes that I'm teaching here are all interested in one thing, the Trout Spey. And so we thought we'd put together a little video about Trout Spey and kind of how to put some stuff together, because a lot of people talk about it. They're applicable for the fisheries in Colorado and Wyoming and Idaho. They're great for just trout fishing, and they're also utilized as techniques for casting when you've got obstructions behind you. Trout Spey basically are little spey rods, little two-handed rods like this, but they're nice and light. This is a 3-weight that Sage make. You can get down to 2 weights, you can get 4 weights, although 4 weights tend to get a little bit heavier. So they're really light two-handed rods built and designed for trout fishing, and which is why they're so perfect for anywhere really where you've got some trout fishing. Just before we get into the gear, a really useful tip to know is how do you convert one of these little two-handed rods into a single-handed rod, which you might know more about. And the answer is 3. What that means is this is a 3-weight, 3 plus 3 is 6. So this is kind of like a 6-weight one-handed rod. So if you fish 6-weight one-handed rods, and that's the kind of thing you fish for trout, then you probably should look at a 3-weight Trout Spey. If you fish 5-weight Trout Spey, single-handed rods, you should probably look for a 2-weight Trout Spey. So that's your correlation. That's kind of to dial in the right size of rod for you. Once you've got the rod, you've got to rig it up. And we're going to keep this really simple. I mean, we can get into some serious depth here and go into all manner of fly lines and gear and gizmos. And the spey world is that big and that complicated. But we're not going to go there. We're going to just start off and just keep this in 2 simple options. One option is when you want to swing some big streamers and things like these Sculptzillas here. If you want to throw a bit of weight, there's a lot of cone on this thing, a lot of weight on that cone, there's a lot of mass in there. They don't cast easily on regular rods, they don't cast easily on two-handed rods if you get the gear wrong. So I'm going to show you a little outfit for fishing heavier streamers. Then, my love in trout fishing is swinging little baby things like these, little soft hackles, little sow bug like that, and little partridge hackles like this. These are just great little soft hackles. I like to fish a couple of them, a team of them off droppers with tippet rings and just droppers hanging off. You can fish lightweight streamers like that. You can fish nymphs like this. You can swing nymphs like that. So there's a lot of options in that. But basically, we're going to talk about 2 rigs. One for lighter, smaller patterns, and one for these bigger, heavier patterns. And it all boils down to what is moving them. And that is your fly line. So on the same rod, you can put a number of outfits. And what we have here, let's take a look at these couple of cords. We've got a kind of a turquoisey blue line here and a peachy coral color line here. And both of these are Trout Spey type lines. This is a line here, this blue one's line called a Skagit. All right, it's Skagit. I just want to get your pronunciation right. Don't call it Skagit, because you go to Washington, you're going to get shot because that's a river in Washington and it's called the Skagit. So don't call it Skagit. So the Skagit is a type of outfit that is a short, thick, chunky line, and there's a lot of mass in a short amount, and mass moves mass. So if you're going to fish heavy flies, a lot of weight, heavy stonefly patterns, stuff like that, heavy, lot of mass, a lot of weight, you really want to look for a Skagit style outfit for your Trout Spey rod. Now on its own, it's pretty useless. This is a head, it's a shooting head, there's a loop at both ends. You kind of might see one here, and there's the blue one here, and there's an orange one on this side. There's a loop at each end. I'm going to turn that around so you can see. Look at that, that's much better. Well, we try and make it simple at Rio. Orange is the back end, so this is the end that's going to go onto your shooting line. I'll tell you a bit about shooting line in a moment. And on the front end where the blue loop is, which is kind of hiding in here somewhere, there it is. On the front end, you need to put some kind of tip. You can put a floating tip on, you can put a sinking tip on, you can put an intermediate tip, but you want to put some kind of tip on. You can't just take this and go fishing and attach it to your backing, because it's going to fail miserably. So that's a Skagit head. As I said, we'll come back to shooting line and I'll come back to tips in a second. The other line I wanted to talk about is a Scandi. And a Scandi is a head again. See, there's another orange end, that's your back end. Nice loop on that. That's going to go to the shooting line. And Scandis have very long tapers, and they get really thin at the front end. And that might be a clue, a kind of a giveaway to its use. When you look at the front end of this, you can see it's pretty thin diameter. It's kind of like a regular trout line. This is a good presentation type of line. So your Scandi style lines are presentation. They're going to throw you smaller flies. They're going to land gently on the water. They're going to cast nicely. That is your perfect outfit for the lightweight patterns. And your Scandi, because it's so heavy, that's the thing you want to pick up for your heavy flies, anything with that weight. Okay, so remember that, Scandi for big stuff and Scandis for little stuff. It does get a touch more complicated. Sadly, because they're shooting heads, you have to attach them to a shooting line. Now a shooting line, you think of a weight forward, right? Your regular trout weight forward line. There's a running line and then there's the head. And if you were to cut off the head and then put a loop in the running line and a loop in the head, you've made yourself a shooting head system. Here is the loop in the running line. In the spey casting circles it's called the shooting line, but it's basically a running line. It's a large loop. I'll tell you why in a moment. And that is the loop that attaches onto the back end of your head. And all this is very thin fly line, and this is attached to your backing. So you get your backing, you get your shooting line, you get your shooting head, and then on the front end you're going to put some kind of tip. Note how big the reel is. This is a reel by Reddington called a Behemoth, and it's a lot larger than your average 3 or 4 weight trout reel, and it has to be. These spey lines are a lot fatter. They require more capacity on your reel, so you need to step up about 3 line sizes on your reels. If you get a 3 weight trout spey outfit, you probably want a 6 weight reel. It's a good guideline. So your reels are going to be generally a bit bigger because you've got more fatter line to get on. You've also got the shooting line on there, which is 100 feet plus your head plus your tip. So don't get your regular 5 weight trout reel and try and put everything together. It's just going to get squashed on there. So you get your slightly bigger reel, get your shooting line, and then a lot of anglers, because they swap between shooting heads, because some days they're going to fish, say, a heavy fly, and some days they're going to fish a presentation fly. You only need one reel with one shooting line on, and in your pocket you have your Scandi, and in this pocket you have your Scandi, and when it's big fly time, out comes your Scandi, loop it onto your shooting line, then you go around the corner, you fish your little flies, you loop off your Scandi, and you loop on your Scandi, and you just change it as easy as that. It's a really simple system once you know how it is. I said I'd come back to the big loop. Well, the big loop, the reason there's a big loop in here is because one of the simplest ways of attaching your heads without tangling everything is you take your big loop and you take your little orange loop that's on the end here and you thread your little orange loop like through here like so, and then the big loop is big enough to thread the whole coil through. Just like that. See, really easy to attach. That's why there's a big loop on shooting lines, because you want to get the coil through. You don't want to unravel the coil each time and thread it through finesse and carefully like that. So that's why there's a big loop. So the big loop is always going to be the front end of your shooting line, orange to orange we say, so that's an easy way to make sure you don't get your heads mixed up, that they perform badly. And then the last thing is on the front end, you're going to attach something. On your Scandis, you can attach just your regular 9'4" trout leader like this. You don't have to put anything on. You can put your regular leaders on, and that's ideal. Sometimes you might want to get a little bit deeper, so you put on these things called Versa leaders, and Versa leaders are just sinking leaders. So you can loop these onto your Scandis. My favorite is the intermediate. As I said earlier, I'm a massive soft hackle fan, and they're so light that they can wake in the surface film. And so I like to fish an intermediate Versa leader on the front of my Scandi, and then off that intermediate leader put on 2 light soft hackles, and it sits and it swings about 8 inches, 6 inches below the surface, and it is so effective. So you can just change your sinking leader as conditions change and you want to get deeper. So Scandi is fairly simple. With a Scandi, again, it's simple, but it's a jargon thing. There's a thing called a mow tip, and a mow tip is just a style of level sinking tip, not really tapered. Level. And the reason level is important is because if your sink tip gets thinner and thinner, it gets lighter, and the light front end of a tapered tip will not cast your heavy scalp bazillas. Your Scandi line might, but the tip will try and turn it over, and there's no mass in the front, so it won't. So generally speaking, when you're setting up for Scandi fishing with the Scandi style heads and heavy flies, you want these level type tips called mow tips, M-O-W. Some people say Mao, but again, mow tips is the correct pronunciation. And these this one is a 5 and 5. It means there's 5 foot of sinking and 5 foot of floating. That's an optional thing. Right now, all you need to worry about is you get yourself a certain type of tip for your Scandi head, for your heavy flies, and then everything is really easy because it's got mass, moving mass, and then everything works out. So there's a little introduction there. I went through it fairly quickly. Obviously, you can find out more information by phoning the guys in the shop. They know all this stuff. They've been through all this stuff. They all cast the stuff. They can phone up, get the information from the guys there. You can contact us at Rio as well. There's information on the Rio website. But really, we wanted to run through some just basics of the Trout Spey how to set it up, and if you've even got half an inclination, go and get yourself an outfit and set it up and just get down the river and start casting it, because you will be hooked straight away. It is such one of the most wonderful ways of casting and fishing that I know in the fly fishing world. And I know I'm biased because this is kind of my game and I love it, but I love it because it's enjoyable. So get yourself an outfit, get on the water, phone the guys at Anglers All, they'll sort you out, and give it a go. And hopefully one day I'll see you on the water throwing this stuff around.